Heck of a quarter. Blowout earnings, 241 compared to 204 expectations. Your guidance for the first quarter is above expectations. Passenger revenue per available seat mile on the high end of the guidance. Do you believe this is proof that your strategy, especially with those mid-sized routes, that it's paying off?
Well, as I've always said, proof, not promise, right? And probably a year ago, you and I were sitting on the floor of the exchange, much to a lot of people's concern about where we were going strategically. I think around the midpoint of the year, you asked me after another good quarter that we'd had whether that quarter was vindication of our strategy, and I said, not yet, we've got more to do. At the end of the year, I can, I think, officially say that we are very happy to see the path and the plan going as well, and I can't thank our 90,000 United family members more than enough for their part of it. But you think of the things that we did. We told you we would grow, and we would grow profitably, and we doubled down with giving an EPS range, so that would, sort of arrange the two things. Cost management, we lead the industry with regards to CASM, and so we've outpaced a lot of our competitors on many, many fronts, and we continue to operate safely. And our customer satisfaction aspect and initiatives are really kicking in. We're really excited about that being the next chapter. So thank you for having us. Thank you to the United team all over the world. And I apologize for
one of those.
So much.
No, it's one of those quarters. You've got.
Yes,
look, take a bow while you can, because you're delivering. But you know the concern that's out there right now, Mark. And one of the big concerns is the government shutdown. Right. How much that impacts your bottom line. You didn't say anything in the earnings release yesterday. Can you tell us how much the government shutdown is impacting United?
Well, listen, our barometer, we have one of the largest presence in D.C., if not the largest presence. So we understand this and we watch it and monitor it closely. Our bookings through the end of December and into early part of January continue just as is. There's clearly some impact there. It's not discernible and it's not significant at this point in time. Clearly, the longer this goes, of course there's going to be impact, and we do worry about that, and not impact just to our industry, but to the industry as a whole, which of course affects our company.
So yesterday, Delta says $25 million impact in January. What you're saying is, at this point, there's no discernible impact in terms of government contractors or workers not booking their flights or not taking their flights?
Well, I suspect that the numbers being provided by others are more of a first quarter sort of full impact. This is uncharted waters, right? We've never shut the government down for this long. So because it's uncharted, what we've done with regards to ranging it, we've given you a unit revenue range of a wider ground. We went 3 points versus the usual 2 that we do, because we don't know necessarily, and we hope and implore our political leaders, there are absolute consequences to maintain or to not keeping our government shut down. And so, of course, there may be impact if it lingers. We don't know what that is. It's really hard to precisely measure.
Last question on the shutdown. Separate from the government workers who might be flying on United or traditionally do, are you or your team seeing any indication businesses, corporations are saying, I don't want to deal with extra lines or the uncertainty out there, I'm going to pull back on my reservations?
We continue to see good bookings in the near period. That's our best barometer. It's early in the year, lots of things going on. We'll closely monitor it, but I really hope that we don't talk ourselves into anything, right? And so, again, the things we're seeing are good.
You saw the vote probably today on Brexit. Lord knows what's going to be happening in the UK when that gets settled. But Europe has some real trouble spots there. Is your transatlantic business suffering or feeling some impact yet because of all that?
So our Brexit barometer, if you will, is our front cabin to Heathrow. And that continues to be strong, and we've not seen a lot of people are interested flying back and forth. And for other parts in Europe, I mean, it's not been anything of any significance at this point.
And China?
China, again, we've been asking that question for well over a year. We had a really strong quarter in the fourth quarter to China, and our bookings so far this year. Now, the Chinese New Year has moved a little bit, which amplifies some of the demand, but we're not seeing any particular weakness there at all.
You have talked about adding more business class seats, reconfiguring some of your planes, particularly going to Europe, adding more business class seats in there. Is there any sense there that there is a limit where you guys hit how much percentage of a particular aircraft can have those business class seats?
Oh, with regards to percentage, I don't know that there's a number in that regard. What we measure and monitor is what our customers want and the demand. And we operate in some of the largest business markets in America, and therefore the demand from those markets to the business markets, and let's say Europe, as your point, is high, which is why we've made those adjustments. And we can do that because of our uniquely United position in some of our portals.
Oscar, Becky has a question for you. Becky?
Oscar, hi. I just want to say you sound much more confident, much more optimistic than just about any CEO we've heard of. I've heard from so far. I realize earnings season is still early, but what do you see? Is there anything out there that concerns you, or you just kind of feel like this is full steam ahead?
You know, of course, we're always concerned, and you know, it's a state of constant paranoia when you're a business leader. But it's also important, and I do get to travel all over the world and talk to a lot of folks around in the business environment, and I hear the same thing: is that things are generally looking good, but man, I'm reading the same headlines that everyone else is, and that's concerning. And again, we know our market, we know our business, we know our strategy, we know the things that we can control in our company, and I want to make sure that everyone else hears that, because if indeed all of us as leaders sort of provide that strength of our commitment to our strategies, I think we can weather through this. Macro issues are always going to affect us, and of course we're worried about them. I'm not sticking my head in the sand necessarily, but again, for the markers that we have and monitor in our business in the near term, it's looking positive.
That's good to hear.
Oscar, one last question. You guys have talked about adding more capacity at some of your key hubs. San Francisco is a good example. And there are concerns that people have when they fly into a hub, whether it's San Francisco or one of the other ones. There's so much capacity that's been added, not only by you guys, but the industry overall, that increasingly when you land in some of these cities, you get a flight in there, but you find yourself sitting out on the tarmac and you're waiting for a gate to open because they're just constricted, physically constricted. Are we getting close to a point where you're concerned that the airport infrastructure, especially at some of the larger cities around the country, it needs to expand because as an industry, it's getting close to that breaking point?
Well, San Francisco is probably a good example. And from our perspective, any impact to your customer, to our customers, is meaningful to us. And we've had some of those situations there. So we work with the airport authorities. There are two ways to solve it, right? Broader and bigger infrastructure, which is expensive, and you have to figure out who to pay for it. But importantly, there's process and procedures and alignments where you can actually move things around enough to be able to accommodate the increased traffic into areas. So a combination of those is required. To the broader question of infrastructure and infrastructure in this nation, of course we need more investment. It's been known for so long, from highways to airports, is something that I think we really do have to focus on.
Andrew has a question for you.
We'll have to open the government first.
Hey, Oscar, I wanted to ask you a broader question. It's really about the geopolitical nature of the world today, what's going on with the trade war, but more largely how that's impacting travel in the following way. The Chinese have issued travel warnings and advisories to folks traveling to Canada. The Canadians have done the same. There are U.S. executives who now talk about traveling to China or to other parts of the world that are much more concerned than they used to be. How involved are you in conversations about that, and how much do you worry that that could ultimately impact travel?
Again, we are always monitoring from the best vantage point that we have, which is our traffic on our airline, on our seats. And that part has been strong for us, and we've not seen that. We read the same issues, we read the same sort of battles between nations, and of course, again, always impactful. But you know, it's for us. We watch our barometers and monitor our activity. And I'd hate to get into a broader geopolitical discussion. I don't think I'm an expert in that.
But I assume, do you ever get phone calls from friends of yours, executives who say, look, I'm thinking of making a trip to Beijing right now. Is that a good idea, a bad idea? I'm thinking of going to Japan.
You know, we do get questions. We do get calls from all over the area. Nothing with regards to safety concerns. I've not heard that into those particular areas. Really more about, hey, where to stay and have dinner kind of thing. So it's still fairly positive.